Communists and Muslims, are they the same? Let's find out.
You're listening to Late Night Radio on the SHR Media Network. Caution, there will be mature themes explored and potentially adult language used. If conservatarian words, phrases, certain concepts, or rhetoric offends you, tune out now.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
Leftist lies and globalists, I'm pushing them back. From the saloon to the airwaves, I'm spitting it raw. Constitution's my compass, liberty's law. Big gods creeping, shadows on the land. Feds with the schemes trying to bind up my hands. But I'm the Sherpa, guiding through the storm. Red, white, and blue, yeah, freedom's reborn. They spin their tails, but I see through the haze. Media maggots, lost in the maze. I'm calling it out, no fear in my soul. This patriot's fire ain't losing control. Conservative Sherpa leading the fight. Torch in the dark, burning bright in the night. Stand for the truth, won't bow to the game. Sherpas, come and remember my name. Sherpas rising. Leftist judges twisted, trying to steal our rights, but I'm locked and loaded, got them in my sights. From J6 to the border, they're selling us out. I'm screaming from the mountain, hear my rainbow shout. They mock the flag, but I'm holding it high. Stars and stripes forever under God's open sky. No globalist chains gonna cage this land. I'm the Sherpa with the truth in my hand. They push their agenda, but I'm breaking the mold. Their promises empty, their hearts ice cold. Chicago's bleeding, borders torn apart. I'm fighting for the people with the warrior's heart. Conservative Sherpa leading the fight. Torch in the dark, burning bright in the night. Stand for the truth, won't bow to the game. Sherpas, come and remember my name. Sherpas rising. I've seen the storms, I've walked the line. 41 years, badge on the grind. Now I'm on the air, my voice like a blade, cutting through the lies that the traitors made. Hurricanes rage, but we're standing tall. Sheriffs of the Constitution answering the call. From the saloon to the heart of the fray, we're taking back America, no more delay. Conservative Sherpa leading the fight. Torch in the dark, burning bright in the night. Stand for the truth, won't bow to the game. Sherpas, come and remember my name. Sherpas the static, hear my voice resound. Conservative Sherpa, freedom's battleground. Berserk, Bobcat, rules will never kneel. For God and country, this fight is real.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, where I am broadcasting from an actual free state in North Idaho. I am this guy. I am your conservative Sherpa, and I am guiding you through the maelstrom of Demorat, leftist, and globalist lies and chaos and bedlam and deceit and tyranny and betrayal. All of those things. And please remember that what you're about to hear for the next hour and a half, 2 hours or so, consists of my opinion and my opinion only. It's just moi being solo tonight. And I hope you brought your own imbibements because, of course, naturally, I have as well. Speaking of which, a reminder simply that we don't water our drinks just like we don't water our conversations. We are still serving stiff drinks like this right here in the saloon, along with facts, history, logic, rationality, proportion, clarity, context, and tradition and common sense for a lot of people that are just like you. Politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law. We talk about it all right here in the saloon where the speech is free, but the booze is not. I am streaming on a veritable host of locaciones, and that's to include Speaker, well, later in podcast, Apple Podcasts, well, later in podcast, Facebook Live, Twitch, Rumble, the SHR Media, actually BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, Rumble channel, on the SHR Media YouTube channel, also on numerous spots on X. A leopard never changes his spots. And also on KLRN, where I would care to tell everybody that you could, but you shouldn't. You should not advocate to tax the rich because, as a matter of fact, that glorious guy is one of the individuals who streams my show and is doing the very same thing tonight. So thanks to him, thanks to you, thanks for everybody else, thanks to everybody else. YouTube has been very strange, as has X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it these days. And I found that I got my ass kicked off of Twitter for almost a week because I had bad things to say. And I mentioned this the last show. I went into it a little bit, but there was a rescue near Arcata, which I think is kind of Northern California. I could be wrong. That investigators have recently unearthed about, anywhere from 600 to 750 bodies, skeletons, and bones of dogs from a dog rescue. Process that. And a lot of the skulls had bullet holes in them. So just when you thought that you were taking a dog that you had rescued, because it was advertised as a no-kill shelter. Imagine sending a dog that you found that you had rescued across the nation, perhaps, to what you truly believed was a no-kill shelter. And at this point, it appears as though, well, they didn't just kill one or two. It looks like they killed hundreds. And so, being the inveterate reactionary that I am, I reacted on X. And I shared some thoughts with what I thought I would volunteer to do to the suspects, plural, that were found and convicted in that incident. And I volunteered and I said something similar to, you know what? I am all for the $1.38 308 boat tail solution. And I would gladly deign to volunteer my throttled, clotted little hands around, a rifle of your choice. Because if you didn't want to put that person in prison, if you were looking for alternate sentences, I'm your guy. Well, X didn't really like that. Imagine. Well, tonight, and so I got throttled. And so I got removed. And then, oh, by the way, if you've never been in that kind of a situation, one of the reasons that I was throttled is because social media will give you an option. An option. And the option is you can delete the post or we will levy fines and sentences upon you. Oh, but social media, you don't have to be on it. It's private, said the people who go all wacky when you remind them on the left and Democrats that, hey, social media is private. If you don't like what's going on in private companies, ... Anyway, they give you a choice. Delete the post or you will suffer the consequences. I refused to delete the post. 1 week later, fuck X and fuck Twitter and fuck social media. Sorry to get out there so immediately with the F words, but, I warned you at the beginning of the show. Well, tonight, what is the show about? The show is this. Is there a dime's worth of damn difference between communists and Muslims? Because what they're doing is they are counting on America's ignorance and stupidity. And altogether, too frequently, this country is remarkably ignorant and remarkably stupid with regard to the ways and means of how they are being undermined. Now, I've said this for quite some time. I even had a show about it where I said, there are rhino underminers, and I can't even say that anymore. I'm hoping that we'll be able to get into that a little bit later on. But it's the rhinos, Republicans in name only, who are fairly certain of ensuring that the Republicans, and by dint of me, conservatives, because I am not a registered Republican, I am an independent, we're going to have some difficulty winning the midterms. Now, customarily, midterms are lost in terms of the occupant of the White House. That opposing goalpost is generally the one that wins in the midterms. Well, allegedly, Republicans hold the triumvirate right now: the White House, the Oval Office, the House, and the Senate. Well, they're not really acting like it, as most everyone knows. And again, I hope to be able to get into that. Before we start, as is customarily my wont, by the way, before I do that, let me put this in. Hey, for those of you who are ever so happy, June is gone and July is here. I am ever so happy about that. Now, remember I said Republicans are frequently our worst enemies. This is unfortunately frequently who they are. They are the Republic rats. Different sides, sadly, the same goals. People have been saying for some time, get John Thune out. Get the filibuster out. Demorats, when they get back, they're going to nuke the filibuster and, of course, pass the Save America Act. And again, dimes worth of difference. This is the Demorat party. This is the Republican party. All the voters in between. And it kind of sort of used to maybe be that way, except that now we're discovering that socialism is rearing its ugly little pate all across the fruited plain. And I will be getting into that a little bit later on as well. Because so many people, let's see, 100 million people have been murdered on behalf of, say, socialists and on behalf of, say, communists. Because everybody's saying, all these countries, all these millions and millions of deaths was only because you didn't find the right person. And if you find the right person, then, oh my God, socialism will work. You just haven't done it right yet. And all the people are lining up now to say, me, I'm the individual. I can do it right. Carousel of amusing GURP. How about some strange stuff? How about this is what I really enjoy seeing right now? Did I care about soccer ever before? Not really. but this is awesome. Awesome. Baby.
Flew in from across the ocean, didn't know what to expect. Saw the skyline out the window and I nearly broke my neck. Landed in Atlanta where the Georgia pines run green, and I said this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Pulled up to a Waffle House at 1 a.m. real late.
Baby.
Scattered, smothered, covered, 10 out of 10, it's great. Discovered free refills and I almost lost my mind. Found the kind of welcome that I never thought I'd find.
Give me another one.
Welcome to the land where the whole world comes to play. Flags from every nation waving proud and on display. From Boston to LA, from Dallas to the sea. 80,000 voices, this is what it means to be free. Hey! Welcome to the land, yeah, we're rolling out the door. Every street is stage, every stranger wanting more. The ball is in the air, and the whole wide world can see. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the land of the free.
Stop. I'm probably going to get a strike on YouTube because of this, because I played the music. But looking at this, why do we have to look and see our country feted by people who don't live here, and the people that live here hate this country? Reconcile that for me if you can. Also, see if you can reconcile this. This is weird, but great.
Okay, boys, let's run Operation Epic Balls of Fury. Guys, please don't suck.
Maybe Michael can sub in.
What?
Okay, first up, we have the GOAT.
Oh! He gets hit in the face! Unbelievable, what a shot!
Okay, we got Sleepy Joe up next and eating ice cream. Oh, and he whips it! He completely misses the ball! Incredible moves by Fat JD. Here comes the meme legend.
Uh-oh.
Face shot again! Unbelievable! Let's go! Next, we have the first gay president. What was that?
Yeah! You know what? I'll just do it myself.
Uh-oh,
Okay.
Looks like Pretty Boy is mad. Again to the dome! His brain is hanging on for dear life.
What was that? It was funny, and that's why I put that kind of stuff on the show, because it's my show and I can. And again, thanks for being here. I also have this. Let's stand by for a little bit of news if we can. A little bit of news.
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal.
Because some interesting things occurred recently. I'd like to tell people about them at the beginning. Some things, like I say, more information in 2 hours than you customarily get in a lot of other shows. And I'll tell you about the foundation of this show in just a few seconds. Guidance is internal. And then
I will build a great wall.
wait for it.
Stand by for news.
Here we are in the, oh God, that was hot. Alrighty. Bring it down there, BZ. Anyway, some news has issued forth recently, and there will be a transition into some other things that occur. Anybody remember this story? And I want to point out some what I consider to be some salient aspects of this, because just like leftists and Demorats, they see things in terms of only race and only sex, to which I say, well, excuse me if you open that door, I'm going to walk right through the race and the sex door. So today, second-teen suspect in the murder of a Penn State student surrenders to Philly police. So, Hearken to the names that I'm about to throw on your pates. A day after Azubair Outen Fleming was arrested, Kaisim Smith, the second teen suspect in the murder of Penn State student Billy Schmidt, was surrendered to Philadelphia police, and he's now in custody. And that was from the U.S. Marshals. The other one, Azubair Outen Fleming, was arrested by the U.S. Marshals Service in Colorado yesterday. Okay, so what are they doing in Colorado when it occurred in Philadelphia? Oh, and it turns out this is kind of weird. I again hope, BC says he's hoping that you're sitting down for this. Outen Fleming's mother was also arrested in connection to Schmidt's murder. Outen Fleming's stepfather, identified as Dante Abdul Malik, was in custody as well for trying to hide the teen from law enforcement, according to District Attorney Larry Krasner. Now, if this isn't a bit of weirdness, District Attorney Larry Krasner, who never saw a crime that he wasn't interested or that he was interested in prosecuting, only from the pushback that has occurred over the past, I don't know, under 45 and now under 47, Krasner is occasionally kind of sort of maybe starting to come around. So Abdul Malik was charged with hindering apprehension, obstruction of justice, and tampering with evidence. Okay, now go back. June 6th, okay, almost a month ago, Schmidt was shot and killed in front of his steps, just a few steps from his front door, about 1:30 in the morning on, like I say, June 6th in South Philly. Now, according to his family, Schmidt was preparing to enter his senior year at Penn State, and he was studying communications. So video from the neighbor's porch camera showed two young men speaking with Schmidt. Men, Abdul Malik, they're probably of a darker color. Now, whether they're here lawfully or legally, there isn't one thing in this article to indicate yay or nay, but I wonder, what do you think? So they first were shown speaking to him, who was off camera, and then he follows them into the street, and they say to him, "Give me back my phone." And then moments later, a gunshot is heard. So this kid was shot and killed because they stole his phone. And finally, we have something that occurred as a result of that. I also want to throw this up here. Not throw it up, not literally, okay? Come on, guys. Get your mind out of the vomitous gutter, so to speak. Trans athletes just got kept out of sports. And I think that was from SCOTUS, their ruling on Tuesday. And now this article and the video that I have has been mostly ignored by everyone. But I want to point out what I consider to be the most important element of this. Let's put the video up. And it involves not just the SCOTUS ruling, but Caliphalia as well. Let's play.
What does this ruling mean for blue states like California that allow biological males in girls' sports? Well, let's start with this map. 29 states currently ban transgender female athletes from girls' sports. The court said that's okay. For the 21 states that do allow transgender girls in women's sports, well, that's okay too. States like California are free to set their own rules. Governor Gavin Newsom issuing this ruling or saying this about the ruling. The Supreme Court's decision does not affect California's laws. The state remains committed to ensuring every Californian, including the LGBTQ community, is met with dignity and respect. Well, last year, the Trump administration sued California for its permissive law, saying it is deeply unfair for girls to compete against boys. That case continues.
The court made clear that that question remains outstanding, and everyone expects it to come to the Supreme Court in the foreseeable future.
So California's policy is controversial. Several college teams forfeited games against San Jose State because of a transgender player on its women's volleyball team.
So stop right here. Let me go back and illustrate why this is important and why when certain doors are opened, it should not be surprising when certain other personnel walk through those open doors. Just as we know about sanctuary states, Califalia being a sanctuary state, it has thumbed its nose and given the finger to the federal government in terms of our borders. It would appear that Califalia is doing the same thing here. They're saying, you know, we're going to do what we are going to do when we decide that we are going to do it, or mostly Governor Gavin Newsom. This plays also into the point of the entire show tonight, which is essentially communists and Muslims are counting on America's ignorance and stupidity. A lot of communists happen to live in Califalia as well. And so my point being, when is it that other states are going to say, states that are not necessarily blue, or areas and locales that are not necessarily blue, that are going to say something similar to, well, you know, another BZ if-then equation in terms of, if you say that you're not going to go along with this and or various rulings and or common sense, then how long will it be before other states, areas, and regions decide that they're going to do the same thing? This is how that you get into the, well, it's divided we stand and united we fall. Here's another example, because now I'm going to make Califalia, of course, an example. And here's a gentleman by the name of Ro Khanna. And he is a gentleman on the left who rails against the ultra rich, the huge rich. Sadly, he apparently thinks that people are going to ignore, well, the American media maggots certainly will, that they're going to ignore the fact that, hey, Ro Khanna himself is now revealed. His zipper has been pulled down, so to speak. And so he hates the ultra rich, whom he calls hoarding wealth hoarders. And it turns out that in DC, he has a $6 million mansion with a 4-story elevator, while his own particular family's $340 million fortune sits in the exact same kind of trusts and hedge funds and LLCs that he hates. Well, he doesn't want you to have them. He doesn't want you to have successful stocks. Just he and his various cronies and his family. So those trusts made 4,100 plus stock trades worth, wait for it, $53 million in 2025, just last year, even as Ro Khanna is leading the push to ban members of Congress from trading stocks, while he claims, I have no knowledge of these trades whatsoever. I'm innocent. So, but wait, there's more. His kids, under 10, hold stakes in, let's see, let me delineate these for you. In 3 private golf clubs, not the clubs you hold, but the whole country club, a $65 billion wealth firm, and a distressed debt hedge fund. And the same vehicles he attacks, because you shouldn't be driving any ICE vehicles whatsoever. Weird thing is, his wife drives a $190,000 Range Rover. Anybody have some thoughts about this besides me? Come right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
In a world where leftists are running out of metal for the safety pins of their soothing red diapers, one man stands alone, attempting to fundamentally change America, one leftist diaper at a time. BZ, your conservative Sherpa, is guiding you through the maelstrom of Democrat leftists and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal. Listen to BZ Saloon on select and exclusive Tuesday and Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Central, and 11 p.m. Eastern on the SHR Media YouTube channel, Twitch, KLRN, Rumble, and X at BZ Saloon. It's one great late-night conservatarian talk radio show. Be there. Aloha.
Hello, friends. You have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRN You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRN Radio.
It's Sean from the Edge of Liberty. Just like the Bidens, I too am moving. Only in my case, it's days and times. That's right. You can now find the Edge of Liberty Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 Eastern, and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 Eastern on the SHR Media Network. Join me as we talk politics, news, alcohol, fun, not so much fun, clowns, small kittens, large kittens, dogs, amoebas, and anything else that just pops into my mind while I'm on the air. That is Monday and Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast, on YouTube, X, KLRN Radio, Facebook, Twitch, and anywhere else a good podcast is found. Please check out our website, shrmedia.com. I will see you live on the air.
Attention, all patriotic women of faith. Yep, I'm talking to you, sis. Are you looking for high quality, super soft apparel that reflects your love for country and your devotion to God? Look no further than Carry Girl Gear. Picture this. You rocking a tee so soft it's like being hugged by a cloud, all while showing off your love for God and country. Sounds dreamy, right? Well, welcome to reality, babes, because that's what we're all about here at Carry Girl Gear. We specialize in super soft tees, tanks, and more, designed specifically for the strong, patriotic woman who proudly wants to carry their message of faith and freedom. When you shop with us, you're not just getting a t-shirt. You're joining a community of like-minded women who are proud to wear their beliefs straight on their tees. So whether you're sipping sweet tea on the porch or leading the charge for faith and freedom, do it in a Carry Girl tee. Because life's too short for stiff, boring tees. CarryGirl.com, where faith and freedom meets fashion.
Independence. With that declaration, America was born. Inspired by a belief in the God-given rights of every human being, and in the good that comes from exercising these rights well. The founders of our great nation chose independence. As do we. Hillsdale College accepts no government funding because independence makes possible the good to which we aspire.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
First half hour done. Thank you for being here tonight, everyone and everyone and everyone. And those of you who just tuned in, everyone. Thanks for listening through the SHR Media YouTube channel. Thanks for listening through X on various locations all throughout the internet. Thanks for listening on Twitch. Don't get much interactions with Twitch. Facebook has crashed, even though I am back on X as well. And so, mucho apreciado. We're talking, well, tonight, let me say, tonight's topic essentially is commies and muzzies, counting on America's ignorance and stupidity. And sadly, Americans are frequently ignorant and stupid, and they play into the hands of commies and muzzies. We'll be talking about that all along the way, so to speak. Here's another happy story. and it really shouldn't shock you. Since I was addressing Califailure, here's a weird study. 2026 analysis: San Francisco ranks as the worst run city in America, while Provo takes the top spot. Now, I will let you read this story at your leisure later on, because what I do is I put links, and they're not missing. They are there, and they are present and accounted for in the Rumble side of BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, because on the YouTube side, there just isn't room enough to list all the links that I have. But in the process, you can read this a little bit later. I just want to go on some of the headlines. Hey, look, this is weird. Small cities are outrunning major metro areas in new government efficiency ranking. I don't know. I just find that kind of weird, don't you? And then there's this strange story, which mostly everybody has forgotten from, I think this was 2022, September 2022. Everyone puzzled and was going, the Nord Stream pipeline coming out into the ocean got blowed up. And then all sorts of hands were pointing, well, it was the Americans. Well, it was the Ruskies. Well, it was China. Because who wouldn't want to spill oil everywhere? Well, Germany just happened to make an arrest. Look at this, kids. This is weird. Ukrainian national charged over Nord Stream blasts. A Ukrainian national has been charged in relation to a series of explosions which severely damaged the Nord Stream gas pipeline in the Baltic Sea 4 years ago. Well, apparently it was a 4-year investigation, and the dude turns out to be a 50-year-old Ukrainian soldier from Kyiv. Now, I used to call it Kiev, and I perhaps shall continue calling it Kiev. So he was accused of leading a team, because that's what it would take, of 7 accomplices in the operation, which destroyed 3 of 4 key Nord Stream gas pipelines in the Baltic Sea. And Europe was nonplussed because the pipelines ended up transporting, this was the key, Russian gas to Europe. Luckily, they were not in use at the time. There was still an environmental issue with that. But hey, that's weird. A Ukrainian guy blowed up gas pipelines to Europe that were Russian in nature. I know, call me wacky, call me anything you want, just don't call me late for dinner. And then this is my state, kids. This is what I'm proud of. Death by firing squad, archaic method on the rise in the U.S. as Idaho opens up its new execution chamber. Idaho apparently still puts people to death. Because sometimes, as my mother-in-law used to say, some people were put on this planet as to be examples of what not to do. And she also said, in similar words, Senator, that some people are put on this planet solely to kill because they are that evil. I've seen evil any number of times. A lot of leftists and Demorats saying, oh, no one is really evil. Oh, hell yeah, they are. I've seen it. I've arrested it. It shot at me numerous times. I shot back and killed it once. So that's my state, and I'm happy to see it. Again, you can read the whole thing. Archaic. It's archaic, I tell you. Remember how many times gas chambers had people spluttering in there? Well, it's only archaic if you miss. And BZ says, listen, with the right equipment and tools, I guarantee, as former range master, I won't miss. That's a happy story. Let's go back to this also. I just want to do a little bit of a reminding session to everybody. With the SCOTUS ruling that came out in Tuesday, there were a number of cases that were resolved, and one of them was birthright citizenship. And people were saying, well, this was the proper ruling. And other people were saying, Well, this is not the proper ruling. And it was a reaction to Trump having crafted an EO about birthright citizenship. So let me, the lettering right here is too small for you guys, but it's the 14th Amendment, which covers this, who is a citizen and who is not. And sadly, the majority, 5-4, in the ruling completely ignored history. And as I had Professor Michael Jones, a constitutional scholar, on last Tuesday night, and he had a lot of things. I highly recommend you go back to watch that show. The guy knows what he's talking about. And essentially what he said is, read the 14th Amendment. Oh, BZ, you're not a constitutional scholar. BZ, you're not a member of SCOTUS. Correct. Very true. But I have eyes and I have ears, and I can read just like anybody else. The 14th Amendment addresses many aspects of citizenship and the rights of citizens. And in Section 1, the 14th Amendment says, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens in the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. All very well and good. Now, I believe that I have the ability to interpret that. And people are saying, well, listen, you guys are just sore losers. You're sore losers. No one would ever think to stop birthright citizenship. Nobody would ever consider doing that, said Senator Harry Reid.
If making it easy to be an illegal alien isn't enough, how about offering a reward for being an illegal immigrant?
Sure. No. By the way, as you can see, this is back in 1993. Harry Reid, dead now, senator from Nevada, was a big fan of this. What happened?
No sane country would do that, right? Guess again. If you break our laws by entering this country without permission and give birth to a child, we reward that child with U.S. citizenship and guarantee of full access to all public and social services this society provides. And that's a lot of services. Is it any wonder that 2/3 of the babies born at taxpayer expense at county-run hospitals in Los Angeles are born to illegal alien mothers?
No, it's no shock whatsoever. It's no surprise. The federal government and Bureau of Land Management and animals and stuff like that. There's a reason they said for quite some time, hey, kids, don't feed the bears. Do us a favor. Please don't feed the bears. So there were some dissents. We went into them in great detail last Tuesday night. And Clarence Thomas wrote a 91-page dissent. And throughout some of that, essentially the bullet points of the three who wrote dissents, Thomas, Alito, and Neil Gorsuch. Basically, Thomas said, I'm not sure that today's opinion is going to stand the test of time. The citizenship clause added greatly to the dignity and the glory of American citizenship. Today's opinion devalues that citizenship. And Alito said, well, suppose that person's only connection to this country is that he was born here to a mother who was present just long enough to give birth and then quickly return to a native country. And suppose that child never visited the United States while growing up and was inculcated with hatred of this country. According to this court, now that person is a citizen of the United States. All true and salient points. And so people were of two minds about this. Rand Paul, as I indicated prior on Tuesday, said, I had kind of a funky feeling that this is going to happen. The executive order was never going to be strong enough to permanently fix birthright citizenship, no matter how good the intentions were behind it. And so that's why he filed a constitutional amendment earlier this year instead of waiting around to see how the courts would rule. That's a double-edged sword. Anytime you open up a constitutional convention, a lot of people can jump in with any kind of boot that they happen to be wearing. So I am very leery of something like that, very hesitant of something like that. So let's go back, if we could, to the history. Senator Jacob, gosh, I can't think of his last name now, from Wisconsin, if I'm not mistaken, said back in 1866, as a matter of fact, I want to tell you that this was not for children, not for ambassadors, not for people that were here in the U.S. illegally. The purpose of this was aimed at blacks and the Dred Scott decision, and eliminating the Dred Scott decision, and conveying citizenship through birth in this country already. That's how you acquire citizenship. It wasn't someone from Guatemala, etc. And that's why history, of course, is not taught in con law classes anymore. Because history, you shouldn't know. It's, as Professor Michael Jones said, it's stare decisis. All they talk about in con law is the cases, with no predicate about how did you get this? How did you get this case? How did you get the Constitution? How did you get the various amendments that you got at the time? And then, of course, because Alito referred to it, this was bad, horrible. Alito said, hey, what about people that come here for birth tourism? And all the leftists said, no, that doesn't happen. That's not going to happen. Oh, here's another article saying that basically Chinese billionaires are having lots of U.S.-born babies via surrogate. No, BZ, you wrong dolt. That just doesn't happen at all. And here's something weird that I found. I hope you're sitting down. Here's CNN back in 2015 talking about the growing trend or business of Chinese using U.S. surrogates to have their babies in America. Because, it just doesn't it's been happening for at least a decade plus. Kids, listen.
I know it's not my baby.
The child growing inside Audra Anderson will be going to parents in China.
Huh.
Who are the future parents of this child you're carrying right now?
A Chinese gay couple. And they are the most wonderful people that I know. They are loving and caring.
Okay, stop. Let me get out of here. Let me go back to the point of the show tonight. Commies and muzzies counting on America's ignorance and stupidity. Because, hey, I wonder if mommy got paid.
And if I didn't think that, I wouldn't have given them two wonderful children.
Anderson's surrogate pregnancy is not unusual. A growing number of women in the U.S.
in 2015, 11 years ago, reported on by CNN, even back then,
are becoming surrogates for wealthy Chinese couples.
Wealthy Chinese couples. Oh, no, these are not Chinese paupers. No, you got to have the coin. You got to have the commie coin, baby.
Agencies like West Coast Surrogacy in Irvine, California, are seeing a large influx of customers from overseas. In fact, 40% of their clients are from China.
For one, their child will be a U.S. citizen. I'm sure that has some draw to it.
Some draw to it.
你好.
There are other American companies trying to get in on this growing surrogate
Ni hao ma, Chinese commies
industry. Unlike international adoption, there are very few rules governing international surrogacy. Here in a small desert town in Southern California, Audra Anderson says she's already considering carrying a third surrogate child. She can earn from $35,000 to $45,000 for each baby.
And that's why they're Chinese billionaires. Again, counting on Americans' ignorance and stupidity, and counting on coin, because nothing sells like a big-ass amount of cash. We got about 10 minutes before the top of the hour break. I guess I could have done this under stories, but I want to add this to the mix and point out some things to everybody. because this is a story from MediaMatters.org. Hey, I wonder if they lean left or not. No, come on. They're moderate. They're nothing but moderates, please. Media Matters, the headline is, and then I'm going to get into the gristle of it a little bit later. Sadly, you won't be able to read it, but you will be able to see the links again when you go to the Rumble portion, rumble.com. If you want to see a horizontal show, that's where you'll go anyway on Rumble. If you want to see a portrait or vertical show, you're watching right now on the SHR Media YouTube channel. And as I've said for any great amount of time, other people have also said to me recently in chats, as a matter of fact, you know, and why do you show so many videos? Why aren't you just a talking head like some of the other podcasters who don't show this stuff? Well, number one, my brain is going. Okay. Number two, what I'm trying to do is people have said, hey, why aren't we hearing more of you? Okay. Instead of so many videos and so many articles, that's because I can tell you something, go ahead and pontificate on it, and then get called a liar. Well, I'm not being a great fan of that. The buttressing of what it is that I say, I've decided that I'm going to support it with the evidence. You know, BC, you can just say these things and you have no evidence. So, like I've said any number of times, I bring the videos and I bring the articles and I bring the evidence and I bring the proof. I don't have the technological capability to make this stuff up. I don't have any of it, which is why mostly I refer to videos and to articles already present, so that if I make some kind of a wild ass allegation, hey, would it be weird to think that I have mostly something to back it up? Anyway, from Media Matters, the plot to subvert the midterms is getting stranger and more dangerous. And of course, leftists are pointing at the heinous people like Steve Bannon, John Solomon, and Cleta Mitchell. I have to admit, I don't know who the hell Cleta Mitchell is, but I do know John Solomon, who has his own spot on the internet, justthenews.com, and I consider him to be one of a few handful of journalists that actually care about the truth anymore. But of course, because he doesn't trot through the full left spectrum, and he hasn't moved into the commie spectrum just yet, don't think that isn't a thing. Oh, so he's a bad guy. Well, Steve Bannon, as far as I'm concerned, runs hot and cold, okay? So what they're doing, this article says, is that they're weaving together a narrative about interference by China in U.S. elections to justify a national emergency to curtail voting rights. Conspiracy theory or conspiracy fact? Who's been curtailing voter rights and embracing fraudulent voting and refuses to let election integrity into the mix? Well, I have to say these days, and with luck, I'll be able to get into this as well. Yes, certainly the Demorats, but sadly, Republicans as well. So what this says, and I wish I had dangerous music that I could play in the background. All I have is dun, dun, dun. You would want to hear 5 minutes of that. Over the past several weeks, the outlines of a plot have begun to emerge that could signal how President Donald Trump, along with MAGA media figures and activists, could attempt to severely curtail voting rights under the pretext of declaring a national emergency posed by China. Okay. Weirdly enough, this entire article exposes itself in the second paragraph, because like with Adam Schiff said literally for years, I have evidence of corruption by the president, and everyone, including myself, said, okay, let's see it, show it. Crickets out in the field. No evidence, no show, no has. except everything opposite that was in fact proven true. Now, the second paragraph, Jesus, you know, who writes non-journalistic slop like this except Media Matters? Second paragraph, I am truly amazed and shocked that they put this up. Usually the lead is, well, obviously the lead is buried, and usually you have to find any semblance of truth way down here at the bottom of the article, and it's not there. It's up on the second paragraph. Did the editor somehow get involved here? I'm not quite sure. The details, second paragraph. The details of the scheme remain publicly vague and may not yet come to pass. But the short version looks something like this. First, the White House would declassify and release documents purporting to show foreign interference in U.S. elections, especially the Chinese Communist Party. Wait. Hold up on that car wash, kids. Wasn't it Russia? Russia is interfering. It's Russia. But oddly enough, in this story, the details of the scheme remain publicly vague. Wow. Okay. What a letdown. I'm sorry. What a letdown. Now, there's another gentleman I'm going to play, and he's going to be talking about, he's going to be sort of sidestepping but semi-addressing this issue, the purpose of the show tonight, because commies and mussies are counting on America's ignorance and their stupidity, and already went into the history of the reason for the 14th Amendment. And it didn't have anything to do whatsoever with birthright citizenship and anybody coming in and plopping a baby down on our soil from anywhere. You know, maybe even a Zephron alien could come down. I am friends with people from Zephron, as everyone knows. Certainly, the cosmic bard knows this as well. But with regard to that, Matt Walsh, I kind of like him. I kind of don't. Sometimes he runs for me hot and cold, but he makes some very interesting points here. And this is going to be the last thing that I play before the top of the hour break. Here's Matt go.
This might seem like a deep cut, like some esoteric trivia that no one would ever need to know, but it's one of the most important historical facts that you never learn in school. The Bolsheviks never won more than 30% of the vote in Russia in any election. They were never close to obtaining the support of a majority of the population. In fact, they were widely detested. As it turns out, Russians did not want to empty their bank accounts at gunpoint and transfer all their money to the government. They didn't want the government to seize private property and arrest the clergy. They didn't want the government to take the grain from the peasants, causing mass starvation.
So, okay, I'm making the point, the reference now. A minimal amount of people decided that they were going to support the Ruskies. Well, they mostly got killed for it. Hey, kids, what percent of New York City decided that they were going to vote for communism? 11%. It was an 11% turnout. And that's how it went. And that's how it goes. So, Matt?
But all of that happened anyway. Why did it happen? Well, because the Bolsheviks were extremely dedicated to their mission. They were well organized. They were willing to wage war to advance their ideology, while the traditionalists, the supporters of the Tsar and the Empire, were not. The traditionalists were growing wary of World War I. They were skeptical of the Tsar, who was spending too much time, they thought, with an Epstein-like figure named Rasputin. They weren't energized or cohesive, so the Bolsheviks won by default. They abolished the legislature and ruled for more than 7 decades. They murdered tens of millions of people and brought
Wait, there's that stupid, pesky thing about commies and socialists killing people. Over 100 million people have been killed behind communism and socialism. I had Lily Tang Williams on the show about 2 months ago, who said, what you didn't hear about communism, because I lived through it under Mao, is Mao killed an additional 50 million people by starving them to death, and historically that hasn't been reported. However, she was there. Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird?
Economic ruin to the entire country. And they did it all with less than 30% support. Now,
30% support, as opposed to 11% in New York City. But wait, again, BZ says there's more.
None of my teachers ever taught me this, and I'm willing to bet that yours didn't either. You'll learn a lot about the Nazis from your high school history teacher, but virtually nothing about the Soviets. And that's a big problem. This is a lesson that could not be more urgent, especially now that socialists have taken over the Democrat Party.
Huh. Imagine that. Now, if you will, imagine this, because I shall return.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Mission log. Intrigue. I mean, let's face it, who's even counting anymore? The Lost Wanderer is officially off course, chasing rogue rocket launches, fringe science, and things that probably violate causality. If it burns fuel, spends time, or makes scientists very uncomfortable, yeah, I'm probably going to talk about it. Every other Sunday on KLRN Radio, The Lost Wanderer, because space doesn't come with a roadmap, and honestly, I wouldn't follow if it did.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here's Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Hey fellas, are you mission ready? You need to check out Mission Ready Men via Earl Big E Jackson on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Central, and noon Eastern. It's a show that equips you to navigate our society's challenges from a biblical perspective with courage and conviction. Tune into Mission Ready Men as we examine our culture through the prism of biblical truths, teachings, and how to apply them in our daily lives. Prepare to step up, stand out, and step into your role as a man as ordained by God. That's Mission Ready Men, hosted by Earl Jackson on the SHR Media Network. And get mission ready.
Want to make an immediate difference in the life of a critically ill child? You have the ability to do that right now. Make a donation to Dream Makers for Life, the organization that restores dreams to seriously ill children and their families. You can sponsor a dream pack for a child, which contains a clear PVC backpack, a dry erase board adventure coloring book, a journal, and dry erase markers to inspire a critically ill child to envision a future adventure and hope. Want to become a dream maker for life yourself? Go to dreamforlife.org. That's dreamforlife.org. Help a child. Help a family. There is always hope.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And it is 4 minutes after the magic witching hour of midnightabus on the East Coast. It is 11:04 in the Centralis area, and it is 9:04 on the Pacific Coast, which is where I am right now. Well, I'm not necessarily on the coast. I am in Idaho, but my part of North Idaho is in Pacific. And if you go a little bit further south, like towards Boise, Meridian, etc., those people are in Mountain Time, which is really weird. I like being in Pacific Time. The hours here, it gets really light, really early in the summer around here, earlier than Califailure, but you just got to live with it. Here's another story that came out, and I just wanted to touch on it very briefly before I continue. Apparently yesterday, paramedics went to McConnell's house, Mitch McConnell's house, from the senator from Kentucky, and apparently he had a cardiac arrest. He hasn't been seen for 2 weeks. I can only surmise that he's probably, I'm guessing, not going to be around too much longer. I don't wish ill on him, nothing in that fashion. But for the old guard, mostly it's time for the old guard to go, because the old guard are doing the Republicans essentially no good anymore. And the Republicrats, here it is. It's them. I'm going to remind everybody, by the way, out with the gay June, in with the 4th of July. Really happy about that. The other thing that I'd like to post is this. This is from Charlie Kirk. This is back in 2023. Hey, imagine that. Imagine if a pregnant lady broke into your house and had a baby in your living room and then said she now has a legal right to stay in your home forever. That's how insane it is to be granting birthright citizenship to illegals. Well, wait a minute. Hey, BZ, let's take this off just for a second, okay? Because I found my old bell. And this is the old bell from SHR in Sacramento in Califailure. And it's a hell of a lot better than the new bell that I had to go find this one. This is so much better. Listen. That's how a bell should sound. And I'm glad that I found it. Ever so glad. Also, this about illegal invaders. This is now an imperative. It is an imperative. If you see a pregnant foreigner, contact ICE immediately. Derek Evans isn't wrong. The future of our country depends on it. Those SCOTUS, 5 of them, have decided that, well, history has no interest in the crafting of the 14th Amendment whatsoever in the context of the times. Sure, of course it doesn't. And then also, end wokeness. Deporting the tens of millions of illegals in this country just became infinitely more urgent. Deport them, or they will now lawfully birth citizens. That's the truth. That's ever the truth. Also, Senate elections. This map. Solid Dem. You can see them blue. Likely Dem, leans Dem, toss up. Toss up is yellow. Leans GOP, likely GOP, solid GOP is red. Hey, look, my state, Idaho, this is weird, is solid red. Again, kids, another reason that I love this state. And when you talk about people that are resisting audits, like for, elections, and the people that push censorship, like commies, and the people that fight election integrity, the reason they're doing that is because they're cheating. Here's something weird that no one seems, well, perhaps a slight number of individuals have pointed out. Remember Doge? Remember USAID? I did any number of shows about that, and now we're seeing some weird results from it. Socialism, communism is losing support all across South America. You may not be able to see it in this chart. I'll read it for you. Socialist, communist in 2025, that's red. Right wing, conservative, that's blue. Then there was Doge. Then there was a focus on USAID. And now people are wondering, in 2026, is this the change that we will end up seeing? Also, this, when you ended up cutting USAID slush funds in South America in June of 2023, that's what you see. And now I'm going to have to take off the comment portion of this for everybody to be able to see it. Now in June of 2026, this is what you're seeing. Left wing is the blue on the right, including Brazil, Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, French Guiana, Uruguay, Falkland Islands. And that is a trend. How weird is that? Because USAID was removed. Here's more. The countries on the left are leaning right. The countries on the right are leaning left because the cash paid to people in South America was helping to work funded by USAID and your tax dollars, basically paying them to be leftists. Here's another strange thing. I'm not a commie. I'm a Demorat socialist. Would it shock you to think that I have videos of Demorat socialists saying, well, actually, truthfully, I'm a commie. This is good, but you can, here, let me take the banner off right now so you can see this fully. You could substitute the word communists for socialists, true both ways. Hey, what did socialists use before candles? Electricity. Oh, PC. Humor is funny because it contains elements of truth. Now, this is something that I'm going to have to show and explain to you because you won't be able to see it. The words are so small. Remember Daria Lisa Bonet, who was a Demorat socialist and she won? Here are some of her former tweets now deleted. But these people expose themselves. And it's like, let's go back to the beginning of the show and the reason for being here. People don't listen to what commies and Muslims are telling you and refuse to believe what's coming out of their mouths. Oh, no, people don't think like that. History proves they do, and they're counting on America's ignorance and stupidity. That's so weird. That's so really weird. But as I indicated, now, look, there's that. And let me read the small letters in Daria Lisa Bonet because this is what she really thinks. How do I know, BZ? Because a red doesn't change its stripes. And her past communications in social media said, seize the means of production. That's from the Communist Manifesto. Communism now. That couldn't be more clear. Most of the theory I've read is communism, but the pyromania associated with anarchism is very intriguing to me. I must read further. And I just realized Sheryl Crow's Soak Up the Sun is bootstrap capitalist propaganda. And Avila Chevalier describes the Anastasia animated movie as an explicitly anti-USSR kids movie, Communism Now. But still, you refuse to believe the words that are coming out of their mouth. Well, socialism won in New York City. Socialism is the same as communism because leftists don't know the difference between the two, and socialism, history indicates, always leads to communism because the purpose of people going to communism and socialism means the few will always benefit. And as per the USSR, they will have their own individual dachas while all the proles line up in line for their slices of bread. But you're not interested in listening to history. Okay, so socialists won in New York City. She says 10%. Some other people say 11%. Turnout was 10%, just a few thousand voters in a city of millions. Go.
What happened in New York last night should terrify everyone, and here's why. New York held their Democrat primaries, but instead of electing normal Democrats, voters chose their farther left socialist candidate. These guys, all backed by Zohran Mamdani and all America hating. This one, Daria Liza, she recently converted to Islam and said she would use the American flag to wipe if she forgot a napkin. And she co-founded a group at...
Hey, she's the person whose comments I just read, right?
Columbia, whose stated mission was the total eradication of Western civilization. She's going to...
And you won't believe the words that are coming out of their mouth. Why?
Congress. This one, Claire Valdez, ran on granting citizenship and voting rights to illegals using your tax dollars for surgeries and the elimination of private
tranny. Let me say that for those who missed that, tranny surgeries.
Insurance. Communist in Congress. Brad also won, but he's technically Jewish, so he had to pretend not to be and do this to get elected.
Oh.
Say what?
This chick also won a state assembly seat. She's a child of illegals. She once protested carrying a Hamas
Hey, would it surprise you to know that I've got a video of her coming up? No, it shouldn't.
headband, and she blamed 9/11 on America's racism. Here's why this matters. Because we are watching the Democrat socialists, the communists, take over the Democrat Party. And where have we seen this before? Pre-Soviet Russia. You had the Bolshevik Communist Party and the Mensheviks.
Hey, here are the Bolsheviks before? Huh.
And Vladimir Lenin controlled the Bolsheviks, and he wanted to destroy the Mensheviks, or the normie Dems. The gameplay has always been go to a normie blue area, take over, and then replace the normies with radicals. Then claim that your insane minority is the majority. Create a false sense of popularity, pretend that the minority is popular, spread it around to the young people, and get them all talking about it.
Yeah, commies and muzzies taking advantage of the fact that Americans are predominantly stupid and ignorant. The thesis for this show.
Lenin did this and then purged the traditional Mensheviks and took over. Therefore, the minority on paper becomes the majority. For Lenin, the Mensheviks weren't radical enough, and for today's socialists, the Democrats aren't radical enough. Mom Donnie is today's Lenin. You see clips of him all over social media trying to convince you that this is the new wave, this is where we're headed, and this is fetch. He's wrong. Most people don't want America hating, ally hating, seizing your private property, taxing you out the wazoo, terror loving, gender chopping, American flag wiping candidates. They don't want communists. They want normalcy. Only 10% of New York City voted in this election. Most people stayed home. They don't care. But guess what? Apathy elects crazies.
Hey, Seattle. Hey, Portland. Hey, Califailure. Seem familiar?
Today it's Congress people. Tomorrow it's the Nazi tattoo guy for Senate. And then next year it's AOC for president. And then communists are in charge. Guys, it is time to be more aware of your local elections before it ends up eating you and the entire nation.
Boy, is that ever the truth. Anybody ever hear of this phrase? All politics is local. Tons of politics is local, because how do you think the people get from local politics? They have narcissistic aspirations and sociopathy, and the people that are really good at it go up to the state, and then they go up to DC, because most of them are sociopaths and narcissists. And as you probably well know, that applies across the board. I said this before, not last Tuesday, but perhaps even Thursday night. The Republicans have a big, big problem. They have a very large problem. And that problem is they're cowards. They're invertebrate. They are spineless. They're not just a paramecium, they're a single mecium. So they get the majority and they become paralyzed with the fear of losing it. And they don't realize, I don't know why, for whatever reason, all Republicans are starting at the foundational level by a lot of people of, we hate your ass. Well, if that's where you're starting, like Trump said, come on, come inside. Come vote for me. What do you got to lose? What do you have to lose, Republicans, by showing your strength? By stomping on people. That's what it's going to take. It's going to take stomping on Demorats and leftists. First, it's got to be politically. Because the BZ's political axiom that I've learned for years is meet words with words and meet action with action. Most people, I'm going to kind of assume, would rather see words first rather than going to action. But then you have to ask yourself, further down the line, where is this going? So Republicans, okay, they run on securing the border. Trump did a great damn job on that. Trying to get people. All I'm looking at now, because on my Facebook feed, which I don't really go to, but I look at the feed every now and then, all I'm seeing on Facebook feeds is people bleating about illegals being rounded up and deported by ICE. Oh, lo siento, it's so bad. That's what I voted for. More. All illegal invaders out, especially after Tuesday's SCOTUS opinion. So Republicans ran on fixing the border. Cool. Done. Fixing the affordability crisis. and restoring law and order. It's not as bad as you think, the affordability crisis. Someday I'm going to do a show on exactly that and give you guys a little bit of history about what I saw when I was growing up. You know, just to throw this out there, because it passed through my tickler file in my brain. I didn't have my first house until I was 30. Oh, kids can't afford houses now. I couldn't afford a damn house. I had been working for probably 20 years, stashing money to be able to afford my first house at the age of 30. And I distinctly remember that today. And so when Republicans manage to get to DC, then they submit like the most moderate bills and policies that they can get conservatives, you know, air quotes, to accept. And so small groups in the Republican Party negotiate big legislation behind closed doors, won't let everybody in, strip out the provisions that they promised, and present 1,000-page bills as, you know what, we've worked so long and so hard on this, take it or leave it. Well, that's how Pelosi worked. So what makes anybody think that this is going to work for Republicans? Buy the bill. Buy the bill. So the New York Post has said, New York socialist sweep shows new Dem slogan. The slogan is, well, we hate America. I don't see any other interpretation of that other than we hate American. Well, America, we're Demorat socialists. No, you're commies. And I have it on a good source that you guys, and you saw the overlay, you know, you guys have come out and you've said it. You've actually admitted it in so many words. Why don't we believe what commies and Muslims are telling us to our face? They're counting on us being ignorant and stupid, ignorant of history, and stupid in terms of, well, everything should be okay. But everything isn't okay. What happened to the word discernment and refinement? Anybody remember a long time ago, and I do, when people were said to have discriminating tastes because various tastes should be discriminating. Not everything is okay. Not every culture is wonderful. There are shithole turd world cultures that come from shithole turd world countries, and they don't hold our culture or traditions or history or our foundational documents or our founders in any kind of esteem whatsoever. And so I told you that, hey, this is weird. I'm going to have some videos about people, Demorat socialists, who are coming right out and saying, I'm a commie. Okay. I'm going to play you a video by a guy by the name of David Jenkins. Okay. And there was a New York Post piece on this guy a while ago. And he's what they call a DSA mime leader who holds national positions in the DSA, Demorat Socialists of America. And so it's time for a lot of people to hear what he has to say in his own words. Now, again, what he says in order to fool you, okay, because too many Americans are stupid and ignorant, what he says is, well, you know what I am? I'm a libertarian socialist. Our goal is liberation. Well, then he says the quiet part out loud, which you're not supposed to acknowledge yet. Demorat socialists will embrace this very soon in time. Our goal is communism. So what he did is, in a video, he said, I think we need to disband NYPD's strategic response group, which keeps New York City safe. And he loves anarchists and leftist communists and says that, we're not going anywhere until your goons, NYPD, start killing us, because that's where this shit is going. Okay. And he also gets pissed off that the NYPD protected those people attending a rally in support of Daniel Penny, which he denounces as disgusting. It's a disgusting display by outside agitators from Long Island celebrating a self-deputized racist murderer. Okay, so I got enough time before the bottom of the hour break to play this, don't I? Go. This is David Jenkins.
I mean, our goal is liberation. Our goal is communism. My name is David Jenkins. I'm a lifelong New Yorker, and today I am again calling on the City Council to disband the NYPD's brutal, unnecessary strategic response group and directly divert its funding to any of the public services fellow New Yorkers have called for today. I'm planning to run for the MPC at convention under the banner of the Libertarian Socialist Caucus. We're a diverse body of libertarian socialists, libertarian Marxists, anarchists, left communists, and other schools of thought within the sort of left-wing socialist movement. I joined DSA in 2020 and found a home in the Racial Justice Working Group and the Defund NYPD campaign before getting heavily involved in tenant organizing, Red Rabbits, and eventually helping start the Flatbush branch in Brooklyn and serving on the first organizing committee as campaign coordinator.
As an anti-fascist and an abolitionist, and to my knowledge, the only DSA member at a counter-protest on January 6, 2021 in Washington, D.C. So I understand and have lived the stakes of impending fascism. And after years of healing and reflecting on that experience.
Okay. You heard the best part. You heard the good part. But the funny thing is, the people who say they're Antifa meaning anti-fascist, and just, Jerry Nadler and Christopher Wray and Joe Biden are all saying there is no such thing as Antifa. They're anti-fascists. Well, they are the fascists themselves. I go back to BZ's axiom, which has been true for quite some time, which is something similar to, what you yourself are being accused of. And when I say you yourself, I mean Republicans and to a degree independents and certainly conservatives. What you yourself are being accused of, Demorats and leftists have been doing themselves, probably with even a greater efficacy, for years. And it's a deflection. It's a deflection. It leads to deflect. It must deflect, because that's the whole point. The whole point is, I did an entire show on, for example, gaslighting. Go see the original movie, Gaslight. Then you'll understand its origin. It was a movie from the, if I'm not mistaken, 40s. I may be a decade or two off either way. But Gaslight was a black and white movie from, I believe, the 40s. And so when we come back, there's someone by the name of Melat Kairos who crushed a 30-year Demorat in Colorado's 1st congressional district. And oh my goodness, will I tell you about her? Because, folks, you got to know. Be right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Mission log entry. I mean, let's face it, who's even counting anymore? The Lost Wanderer is officially off course, chasing rogue rocket launches, fringe science, and things that probably violate causality. If it burns fuel, bends time, or makes scientists very uncomfortable, yeah, I'm probably going to talk about it. Every other Sunday on KLRN Radio, The Lost Wanderer, because space doesn't come with a roadmap, and honestly, I wouldn't follow if it did.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Hey fellas, are you mission ready? You need to check out Mission Ready Men via Earl Big E Jackson on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Central, and noon Eastern. It's a show that equips you to navigate our society's challenges from a biblical perspective with courage and conviction. Tune into Mission Ready Men as we examine our culture through the prism of biblical truths, teachings, and how to apply them in our daily lives. Prepare to step up, stand out, and step into your role as a man as ordained by God. That's Mission Ready Men, hosted by Earl Jackson on the SHR Media Network. And get mission ready.
Want to make an immediate difference in the life of a critically ill child? You have the ability to do that right now. Make a donation to Dream Makers for Life, the organization that restores dreams to seriously ill children and their families. You can sponsor a dream pack for a child, which contains a clear PVC backpack, a dry erase board adventure coloring book, a journal, and dry erase markers to inspire a critically ill child to envision a future adventure and hope. Want to become a dream maker for life yourself? Go to dreamforlife.org. That's dreamforlife.org. Help a child. Help a family. There is always hope.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Welcome back to the show, kids, boys and girls, children of all ages. You're in the saloon tonight. And like it says up there, drink up, denizens of the saloon. It's last call for alcohol. Come as no surprise that right after this, I will be consorting with my fueling team, as you well know. Everyone who is present and accounted for. Gratitude, massive amounts of gratitude to you, to everyone who is in chat. Thank you. I appreciate those numbers. Keep those cards and letters from chat coming in. And speaking of which, this is important.
Folks, this is BZ's final hour. Step up. Last call for alcohol.
Very true. And there's always this. Let's see if I can find it. No, I can't find it. By the way, if you drink too much, that's what happens. You fall downstairs. It's terrible. You know, like I told you going out into the final break tonight, I said, when we come back, we're going to be talking about a 29-year-old chick who's a communist, Demorat socialist. Yeah, same damn thing, okay? So this chick named Melat Kairos, she put the kibosh on another chick, a Demorat, by the name of Diana DeGette, in the primary for Colorado's 1st Congressional District. DeGette had been there for 30 years, got elected time after time after time. And so now Kairos is the Demorat nominee for Denver's seat in the U.S. House. And at this point, it looks like she's probably going to end up winning in November. Colorado has gone commie. Huh, imagine that. So let's go over a little bit of who she is. Then I'm going to let you hear the congratulations Congrats, Kylat, Kilat, Kulat, Kiros for winning. You've done a great job of it. So who is she? Well, she's someone who really hasn't done much of anything. She's a 29-year-old Ethiopian immigrant. She's a former lawyer fired for defending a pro-Palestinian protester. She is a PhD student, and she's a proud DSA member. What kind of jobs has she had? Actual jobs that were productive? Not many. She's calling herself a Demorat socialist and ran on a platform of just, I know I'll be a radical because truly I embrace communism. So it's like this is the wish list of just about every Demorat, socialist, and communist, etc. Okay? Medicare for all. Because your money that you make isn't yours. It belongs to me. Okay? Full government takeover of healthcare, cancel all the medical debt, and break up the entire industry. Some of those things, we could revamp a lot of that stuff. Housing first, treat housing as a right. Well, why didn't I have that right? Build massive social government housing, because that worked so well in Chicago at Cabrini Greens, didn't it? And that works so well in San Francisco, and it's always worked well in New York City. Federally subsidized developments, and treat homelessness. It's like it's a public health issue. No consequences, just more taxpayer money. How many billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars have been spent on homelessness? And still, it keeps erupting. It used to be that Califailure was responsible for a full third of all the homeless people. They all gravitated like a massive magnet to Califailure. Why? Califailure pays. It feeds the bears. That's so weird. Universal child care. Here, have my child, government. I give my child to you to raise because you know so much better than I do. Your rights, as far as they're concerned, are provided by government, not God. So full arms embargo on Israel. Israel bad, just from the mountains to the sea. You can figure that out, can't you? Abolish ICE. No ICE whatsoever. No interior immigration. No immigration enforcement whatsoever. The ICE was born of fear and Islamophobia. Am I an Islamophobic? No. Phobia, by definition, is the irrational fear of something. I am a skeptic of Islam, and I've read the Hadith, and I've read the Quran, and any religion that says, if you leave, God, who's this guy that he's the ventriloquist, and he's got the terrorist dummy. I'll kill you. I kill you. Well, that's what Islam does. If you leave, I kill you. Well, that's smart, certainly. She's backed by Bernie Sanders and Hassan Piker and the trannies and Working Families Party, Denver DSA, blah, 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 blah. One thing you have to say recently about Demorat socialists is that they are getting organized in a manner, and remember what Matt Walsh said in the first hour about Bolsheviks. They got organized. They got organized like few people had before, because way too many people are apathetic. Or as I said at the beginning of the show, well, it's not just apathetic. Communists and muzzies are taking and counting on your being stupid and ignorant. It plays right into their hands. Okay. So they brag about it. They're disciplined. They are funded. Soros, Singham, massive billionaires, the two predominant funding sources that then break up into a spider web. Good luck trying to find all those sources. So, you know what? Let's play this for a second here. And let me put this up on the screen. And here we go.
Over 1,000 Colorado.
Okay, stop right there. As a matter of fact, let me go back a little bit. I want to point out something to you. Who comprises this crowd? I don't see too many old people in there. I see mostly younger people. And what else do I notice? Predominantly what people? White people. I don't see too many Hispanics. I don't see too many blacks. I don't see a shit ton of Asians. Go.
Over 1,000 Coloradans joined Melat Quiros here in Denver.
I'm an immigrant raised in Denver, a lawyer who stood up for the right to protest genocide. And now, corporate super PACs are spending over $1 million for Diana to get. It's time for a change, to end the corruption, to fight Trump. That's why I'm backed by Bernie Sanders. My name is Melat.
That's all I need to know, that she's backed by Bernie Sanders. You know, on the other hand, hashtag because why not? Here's the other thing that we need to look at. This is from the American Prospect. Ideas, politics, and power. Why cities go socialist. Here comes a generation of DSA big city mayors. And this is not an impossibility, kids. It wasn't just Mom Donnie. These people are paid. They are well paid. They are well funded. They have big people backing them, billionaires. So you can again read this later. In the course of my roughly 3/4 of a century-long life, I've lived in just 3 cities, LA, New York, and Washington, D.C. By year's end, there's a decent chance all 3 of those cities will have a socialist mayor. You can read the rest of the story, but I'll fill in a lot of the blanks for you. It's no secret that I live in Idaho, and there are blue areas, mostly the population centers in Idaho. And the biggest one is in Boise. They're pretty purple right now. Although at one point, Boise was saying that we've had enough of people from Cal of Failure. Now Boise is saying, oh, it looks like we're getting converted. But the funny thing is, some people that are running in Boise, and I've noticed this on various Facebook groups, are saying what the rest of everyone else is saying. And it starts with, okay, I'm some chick. She was some white chick running for some position near or around Boise. And all I saw was her question, which was, okay, now, in order to help everyone here, what do you need? Give me a list of all the cool shit that you need. And all it was an endless litany of give me free shit. I want this. I want that. I want this and that. I want hot and cold running abortions. I want. Not one thing about Idaho. Hey, what can we do to make Idaho even safer? What can we do to make Idaho even more independent? No, it's give me everything from my wish list and want list and list of demands to make sure that our taxes explode like all the blue states around me. And then the populations from those blue states being forced to live under the shit they voted for decided that they're fleeing. Corporations are fleeing. Individuals are fleeing. Well, they voted for all of that. Corporations, they were supporting all that. And now it's gotten to the point where, well, I don't think Cal of Failure is doing anything for me right now. Same for New York State. Same for Illinois. Same for Oregon. Same for Washington. States that Oregon and Washington, oh my God, in the 70s, in the 80s, they were pretty red states. And then at the beginning, once Califailure, all the denizens from Califailure started moving up north, then you'd see literally, I saw signs on the road on I-5 leading to Oregon and Washington, which said literally, Californians, go the hell home. Now it is California. It is California. Here's another story. This has to do with muzzies. Prosecutor, sister of alleged terrorist, sought revenge, tried to stab the Temple Terrace office, an officer in Florida. So some muzzy chick came out with a machete and I guess thought that she was, first she calls the department, okay? And then she called and asked and said, hey, I want to file a police report about something that happened a few days ago. So an officer comes out to speak with her, and she pulls out of her purse a big old hanging knife. And then she gets popped and smoked, as well she should have. You pull a knife on a cop, your ticket should get fucking punched. Period. End of statement. So she pulls out a knife, and she's told, standard litany of put down the knife, put down the knife. I had something like that. I said, put down the knife twice. And then I pulled back the hammer on my then revolver. And oddly enough, I got compliance. Weird. And so what happened was her brother, Muhammad, whatever the hell, because it doesn't make any difference, a guy who'd been kicked out of Saudi Arabia on terrorism charges, he was going to carry out an attack in Tampa on behalf of ISIS. And then, he got arrested. So his sister was distraught over the arrest. And a lot of these people do this because they can, because they've historically gotten away with it in the past. And they know that for a while, they'll continue to get away with it in the future because communists and muzzies know, and they're counting on Americans being ignorant and stupid. And we have a big bucket full of that. Hey, let's listen to another muzzy, shall we? Again, they're telling you out of their mouths what they plan to do to you, not for you, to you. Okay? And let's listen. Downtown Tehran, right? No. Jacksonville, Florida. Well, why do muzzies need to do this in public? Why do they need to take over a street to pray to Mecca five times daily? And then you hear that god-awful shriek. Oh, you want to hear that in your neighborhood, don't you? Sure you do, kids. Come on. They do it because this is a naked display of power. And it's a naked display of power because Americans are ignorant and weak. And so they're doing it, hashtag, because they can. And I have had people, podcasters that I know, who have said, well, not all Muslims are bad. I know some moderate Muslims, and they're actually pretty nice guys. To which I say, if there is such a thing as a moderate Muslim, and there isn't, it's just a Muslim who is a coward or who isn't practicing properly. Because if they adhere to the Quran and the Hadith, parenthesis, hey, here's something novel, go read them and see what Islam has to say, and then join Islam, and then try to get out of Islam. Stabbity, stab, stab, stabbity, stabbity, stab, stab. Because who wouldn't want that, right? So you have to ask yourself some questions. Yeah, we're stupid. So what's the plan? Do we have a plan regarding Muslims taking over the country? What's the plan about mosques being built all over the United States? What's the plan about the explosion of mosques in, of all places, Texas? You know, what do we need? What did we see in Ireland? What cooked off the Irish fires? Because a Muslim attempted to behead a white guy in public, and it's on video, and I've showed it on this show at least twice. So what's it going to take here in the United States? I almost said United Snakes. Well, they are the United Snakes occasionally. Is it going to take a similar beheading? Is it going to be will it be necessary for someone to detonate an IED, not necessarily in a mall because there aren't malls anymore, or perhaps in a government building, or perhaps in a state capitol, or perhaps in a celebratory event like Thanksgiving or Christmas or any mass event? At this rate, you will see that. And up to that point, I guarantee there are going to be people that are saying, well, it's just, you need to understand their background and their culture. How many red-blooded Americans need to suffer and die for those who hate this country and are not here to assimilate at all? They are here to dominate, and they are here to conquer. Muzzies and commies, they're essentially the same thing. Islam isn't a religion. It's a societal structure. And again, ignorance on the part of Americans, stupidity on the part of Americans. You know, have you not seen all the marches that you need to see? Have you not heard all the videos that you need to hear? Or the rants from these assholes who say they need to dominate and take over America? Let's put this up. Here's some videos for you to hear. And again, I say, why is it that you disbelieve the things that are coming out of these people's mouths? They're telling you, not imprecisely, not with, like conciliatory language, and they sure equivocate a lot. I wish they'd come out and tell us what they really think. And still, you refuse to believe them. So let's put a couple of videos up. Because again, I don't make this up. I don't craft these videos. I'm a moron. I don't know nothing about technology. The reason I don't have a podcast and the reason I go live is because I can't fucking edit. Jesus. But wait, listen.
Jihad fi sabilillah. Jihad, of course, has many types. Qital is one of them, which is fighting, and we don't deny that. Talk about fi sabilillah, it's not just something that has to do with fighting, but that is one of the greatest of deeds, especially those that sacrifice their lives.
Die as a shaheed, and that's one of the greatest things you should aspire for. You should aspire for. You should aspire for. The Prophet ﷺ said, the one who dies, وَلَمْ يَحْدُثْ نَفْسَهُ, he never talked to his soul and said, yes, one day I wish I can go fight for Allah. You die as a munafiq. And the one who asks Allah for shahada, to die as a martyr, sincerely, this authentic hadith of the Prophet ﷺ in Sahih al-Bukhari.
Jihad fi sabilillah. Jihad.
Let's stop. Let's play the second one.
We're done hiding. We're done. We're done being tortured and hurt and judged. This is the correct religion. This is the religion that all of humanity needs to be upon, of Islam. And we will not stop until it enters every home. So I want you to repeat after me. I want to hear it in every single district. It should tremble. Brooklyn should hear it. The Bronx should hear it. Queens should hear it. Say it as if the Ummah depends on.
But he's just kidding, right? Just kidding.
We're done hiding. We're done. We're done being tortured and hurt and judged. This is the correct religion. This is the religion that all of humanity needs to be upon, of Islam. And we will not stop until it enters every home. So I want you to repeat after me. I want to hear it in every single district. It should tremble. Brooklyn should hear it. The Bronx should hear it. Queens should hear it. Say it as if the Ummah depends on this, my brothers and sisters. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Muhammadan Rasulullah. There is no God worthy of worship except Allah, the God of Jesus, the God of Moses, the God of Abraham, and the God of the last and final prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam.
Who was Muhammad? Folks, he was a pedo. He was a pedophile. 2 more videos to go. I might go over into a little bit of overtime, but not more than a couple of minutes. Let's listen.
Unfortunately, these days we don't repeat. Unfortunately, these days we don't repeat this enough, or we don't have this aqidah concept firm in our minds that Islam did not come to coexist. Islam Islam la yu'la. Al-Islam ya'lu wa la yu'la alayh. Islam is raised high and nothing is raised above Islam. We can't think of Islam that it came to live with these other religions, in the sense that Islam is a religion amongst those religions, and they have a share with the truth, and they have a share of justice, and they have a share of, this worship of Allah, the correct worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
And if you leave Islam, stabbity stab, 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 stabbity stab. They're telling you to your face, commies and muzzies, what they plan to do to you, and you're ignoring them because you're ignorant and you're stupid. Holy good God.
Islam came to correct all of that. Islam came to remove the oppression of all those religions.
Christianity is oppression. Judaism is oppression. Buddha is oppression.
And it is the only truth, and it is the only way to justice.
Okay, well, I have one more video for you guys to listen to.
Now it's getting through Congress. So before it was by the sword, now it's getting themselves into parliament and then making laws that act as the sword, the Islamophobia law in Canada, M103.
Yeah.
Muslim Brotherhood.
I find that there are only 2 things which are open to our movements: ballot or bullet, nothing in between. I used to say that democracy
Because he's just kidding, kids, right? He doesn't mean that.
is haram. Now I say participation in democracy is our jihad. That's our jihad. We're going to fight not through the bullets, but the ballot.
Going to the ballot and voting is now an obligatory action, fard ayn. And it is a jihad that is now needs to be done, because this is our modern jihad. You can elect a person who wants the Sharia.
Because in the United States, what we do know is that in the past election, just this last election, there have been over 800 Muslim candidates running for office.
We may end up with about 50 members of Congress in the next 6 years. That's really the essence of dismantling the system of injustice, is to replace it with the people who represent the Prophet ﷺ.
What that means is everything that you knew, that you believed in the United States, they want to kill. And if you will be assimilated, they're the Borg, you will be assimilated or you will die. Or if you try to leave, they'll also kill you. And then so, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, dismiss me to your own detriment and to the detriment of your children, your grandchildren, their children, and their grandchildren. If you don't listen now, you can kiss your kids goodbye. You like freedom and liberty? You better do something about it. Not kidding. Hope you were convinced. I'm guessing you may not have been. Promotional consideration is by the Lockheed Skunk Works and by Shure and Electro Voice microphones, the people that make my board, or the people that make my mics. These are the people that make my board, the Arrakis Company, and also thanks to Pratt & Whitney, dependable engines, producing thrust you can trust. And tonight, tiaras are by My Little Pony and the United Planets Cruiser C-57D. And don't forget, also, thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team, with whom I shall be consorting in less than 10 minutes.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children. Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night,
Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, and good luck.
And folks, please remember,